I built the shed to honor my wife. Now, I know how that might sound to some folks. Just a pile of wood and nails, maybe a weekend project to hide a lawnmower. But to me, that shed was a tribute, a promise. It was where she used to keep her garden tools, right before cancer stole her from me. I rebuilt it from scratch, every board placed with care, every hinge hung steady, just the way she would have wanted. And when the HOA came knocking, clipboards in hand, scowls on their faces, I should have known they wouldn't see it that way. The first letter came on a Tuesday. Now, I've lived in this neighborhood outside of Flagstaff for going on 20 years. Retired fireman, widower, veteran, and mostly keep to myself. Folks around here know me, or they did, before Karen moved in and brought her clipboard brigade with her. The letter was thin, just one sheet of paper, but I swear it hit me heavier than any fire hose I ever hauled. Unauthorized structure detected, immediate removal required. At first I laughed. Thought it was some misprint. I mean, hell, I'd been on the architectural committee back in '09, helped write half the guidelines these clipboard warriors were waving. But then I saw her name at the bottom, Karen Whitmore, HOA president. I could see her face clear as day, sharp jaw, bleached hair, always squinting like the sun owed her something. She moved in about a year back, took over the HOA like a CEO taking over a failing company. Rules doubled. Fines tripled. And suddenly, the neighborhood turned into a gated dictatorship with flower baskets. Still, I wasn't worried. I figured I'd just explain. The shed was tucked into the back corner of my lot, nestled under the cottonwoods my wife planted the year we moved in. Painted the same soft green she always loved. I even ran power to it, installed a little ceiling fan, a dimmable light. It wasn't some rickety tin box. From Home Depot. It was art. A memorial. So I called Karen. She answered on the second ring, clipped and already irritated. Yes, this is Karen. Karen, this is Earl Bennett from Lot 42. I just got a letter. I know who you are, Mr. Bennett, and yes, that structure is not in compliance. Structure? That's a shed. A shed that was not approved, and it exceeds the maximum footprint and height limit. It's also painted an unapproved color. I paused. It's forest green. That is not within our palette. It matches the trees. Well, trees aren't regulated, yet. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. The conversation spiraled fast. She talked over me, quoted bylaws, threatened escalating fines. I tried to reason with her, told her why I built it, told her about my wife, but Karen didn't even blink, just said, "Sentiment doesn't supersede structure code, Mr. Bennett," and hung up. That's when I knew this wasn't going away. The first fine came the following week, $250, for non-compliant construction. No hearing, no courtesy notice, just a fat envelope taped to my mailbox like a ransom note. A neighbor told me Karen had been driving around snapping pictures of violations herself, zoom lens and all, like some HOA paparazzi. 2 more fines followed, one for vegetation encroachment because my rosebush brushed the sidewalk, and another for failure to maintain aesthetic harmony. That one just said, "Your property no longer reflects the standards of the neighborhood." Translation: Karen didn't like it. At the next HOA meeting, I showed up early, wearing my best flannel and a fresh pair of boots. I brought pictures of the shed, the permit I pulled from the county, even the thank you card from my late wife's hospice nurse, who said the garden brought her peace. The room was packed, mostly retirees like me, quiet folks, the type who avoid conflict. But you could feel the tension. Karen sat at the front table, gavel in hand, like she was ready to hold court. Her minions flanked her. Greg, the VP who once fined a guy for a patriotic mailbox rap, and Linda, who wrote down license plate numbers like it was a hobby. When it was my turn to speak, I stood tall, voice steady. I built that shed to honor my wife. I followed county code. It's behind my fence, doesn't block any views, And if it's a crime to build something with love, then maybe this neighborhood's lost more than just its soul. A few heads nodded. Someone even clapped. Karen didn't smile. She banged her gavel like she was swatting a fly. Mr. Bennett, this is not an emotional tribunal. This is a regulatory meeting. You violated Section 8B, Paragraph 3. The structure must be removed. I looked her dead in the eyes. No. That night, someone dumped mulch in my driveway. A full truckload, blocking my garage. No note, just a mountain of shredded bark. I spent 4 hours shoveling it out with a busted back and a barking knee. Called the sheriff. They couldn't prove who did it. But I had a hunch. 2 days later, the sheriff was back, this time with a complaint filed against me. Karen claimed I was violating neighborhood harmony by creating a hostile environment at meetings. Said I was intimidating her, that I made her feel unsafe. My only crime? Staring her down and saying no. That was the moment I realized. Karen wasn't just enforcing rules. She was punishing defiance. So I fought back. Started by digging through old HOA archives. Called an old buddy of mine, Tommy, used to be on the board before Karen scared him off. He handed me a flash drive, told me, "You didn't hear this, Fro? Me." What I found was gold. Turns out, Karen had approved her own pergola extension without a vote. The landscaping in her front yard, against the same code she used on me. She even paid a local contractor from the beautification budget for personal work. Misuse of funds. I printed everything. 3-inch thick folder. Next meeting, I walked in with that folder like I was carrying the 10 Commandments. Waited until new business, then calmly stood. Madam President, I'd like to file a motion to remove the current board for cause, and I'd like to present documentation of several ethics violations. Gasps, murmurs. Greg choked on his water. Karen turned beet red. That's not on the agenda. It is now. Neighbors started flipping through my handouts. A retired lawyer named Millie stood up and said, "I think we should table all other business until we address this." Karen tried to shut it down, but it was too late. The tide had turned. People were tired of the fines, tired of the fear, tired of her. A week later, the vote passed. The board was dissolved pending investigation. Karen screamed it was a witch hunt, threatened lawsuits, even called the local news claiming she was a victim of shed-based harassment. They didn't bite. The HOA held emergency elections. Guess who they asked to run? I declined. Told them I'd serve on the architecture committee again, but I wasn't interested in power. I just wanted peace. And my shed. Which, by the way, still stands. The new board even voted to rename the back garden as Mary's Corner, after my wife. They planted daisies. The neighborhood kids come by sometimes, and I leave the door open. Let 'em play with the old tools, paint little birdhouses like Mary used to do. Sometimes I sit out there at dusk, light on, fan humming. The cottonwoods rustle, and I swear I can feel her nearby. Karen moved out 3 months later. She left a nasty post on the community Facebook page, called us ungrateful sheep, claimed she was moving somewhere with real standards. Funny thing is, last I heard, she got kicked out of that HOA too. Some folks never learn. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around. I've got more wild HOA tales coming your way.